to In My Mug, episode 294 on Monday the 30th of June 2014. I am your host, Stephen Layton. Welcome to In My Mug and welcome to the news! So let's do the news. How can I do news? I'm in Brazil. I've recorded this 2 weeks before. That makes no sense at all. So what I shall do instead is I'm going to show you a funky new brew guide that we've made.
Hello and welcome to the 11th in our series of the Has Been Brewing Guides. This time we're going to have a look at the Turkish Ibrik brewer. As the fourth best Ibrik brewer in the UK, I feel well qualified to tell you all that...
Sorry to interrupt, Steve, but fourth best in the UK? Remind me, how many people entered the competition?
I don't think that's very important.
How many was it?
4?
So, last.
Look, I'm the fourth best. If you're so good as a former third best, tell me, how do you brew the Ibrik?
Okay, to brew the Ibrik, you need about 120 mils of water. You're going to also need an Ibrik, a heat source, a spoon, a cup, a grinder, some very freshly roasted coffee, some scales. Step 1. You're going to start with grinding that 14 grams of coffee very, very fine, almost like sieve flour. Step 2. Put your water at room temperature into your Ibrik. Step 3. Then add the coffee and stir it so that there aren't any clumps in it.
I'm stirring.
Not the first time. Step 4. Place your Ibrik on a low heat. In all, you want to brew it in about 6 to 10 minutes, so you'll just have to keep your heat not too hot.
Don't boil it then.
No, absolutely not. Step 5. Watch your Ibrik. Don't stir it or mess with it, Steve. You should see it gradually form a surface of very tiny bubbles, almost like a crust. This will then start to rise very slowly up whilst you're heating it. As it gets hotter, it'll eventually form slightly larger bubbles that will break through.
But I've got some bigger bubbles coming through.
That's because you're rushing. If you get those big bubbles, it's because you're going too fast. Step 6. When they're near the top, take it off your heat and serve it. Because that ground coffee is still in there, pour it very carefully and slowly, and watch out when you drink it because that ground coffee will be at the bottom of your cup. Don't drink it all, just sip off the top and enjoy.
Does this mean I'll be the third best Ibrik brewer now?
I'm not sure about that, Steve.
Oh. Well, thank you, Roland, and thank you for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this brew guide, and I hope you might take some time to look at the previous ones we've done. And do remember, life is definitely too short for bad coffee.
It's kind of better than news, isn't it? Like when we have a really cool brewing guide on Ibriks. Like everybody's too scared to do a brew guide on Ibriks, but me and Roland, we powered through together. We don't mind embarrassing ourselves. I really like the Ibrik, it's interesting. And we're going to actually taste the coffee from the Ibrik this week. So that was the brew guide news. So we should do our focus on. And our focus on this week is on the micro mill revolution in Costa Rica. So up until recently, Costa Rica was well known for its like Tarazoos and its Central Valley coffees, and they were all very much coming from these big cooperatives. But around 10 years ago, a revolution started where many of the 90,000 coffee growers bought these small, tiny mills where they could process and market their own coffee from their farms. Costa Rica is a small, well-connected country and very well connected to the United States, has a very good education level of 96% literacy, kind of unknown in that part of the world, has the same literacy rate as Australia, and has a population that speaks a lot of English, so can actually reach out to micro roasters, and started doing these very small special micro lots. And it has led to a revolution of coffee growers selling directly to small and medium-sized roasters and increasing the value in the chain for their end, but also increasing the value for the chain at the roaster's end. And that's kind of really good. I mean, now, it's not without its problems. There are problems that, you know, you have to learn how to process. But what it has pushed is more interesting processing. So this is why you see lots of these honey processed coffee. So yellow honey, gold honey, red honey, black honey, every colour under the sun honey. But it has changed the Costa Rican market and has changed the way that coffee tastes. It's changed the profile because of its focus on processing on the mill. And I think it's a very positive and interesting thing. So that was our focus on. So going on from that, this is a really interesting coffee to look at micro mills for. So it's called Costa Rica Don Mayo Finca La Loma Yellow Honey Caturra. That is a big long name. So let me explain what it means. So first of all, the Don Mayo part. The Don Mayo part is the name of the mill. Now, the Bonilla family that own this farm have a few farms and they process it all at Don Mayo. So Don Mayo is the mill. The second part, Finca La Loma, is the name of one of the farms that they own. And it's a farm that's very, very close to the mill, as you'll see in the map bit, the amazing map bit. It's really good. And it's owned by Hector Bonilla, who family owns the mill. Now, the yellow honey part is the processing. So it's a pulp natural coffee that has been processed using the yellow honey process, which is where they leave mucilage on the seed. But we'll go into that a bit later. So the farm Finca La Loma is located at an altitude of 1,850 metres to 1,900 metres in the Tarrazú region of Costa Rica. This is one of the offerings from my trip back in 2012, where I went to Costa Rica, and we've been working with them on other farms for like a number of years. The mill, the Don Mayo part, is super award winning. Has won Cup of Excellences, has done super well in it's bought by some of the best roasters in the world. Hector has a tight ship that he runs very well with all of his family. And the mill is a perfect example of how a professional mill should be run. Everything is impeccably clean, tidy, organised, to the point of obsession. When it comes to running a good farm or mill, I think it's really important to be obsessive about the details. Like, we're pretty obsessive here at the Roastery about what we do. We want to make sure that the quality we do is the very, very best, and that's the same goal as Hector. Little things like the staff wear uniforms. They label the lots very clearly, and it's very readable and it's very traceable. These are all very tiny little bits that make a real quality farm. It would be remiss of me to not mention about Anaxilia, who is Hector's daughter, who is the Costa Rican barista champion, who competed in Rimini a few weeks ago and was amazing. We should look at the numbers. So the farm is called Finca La Loma, the mill is Don Mayo, it's owned by Hector Bonilla. It's near to Llano Benito de Leon Cortez in the Tarrazú region of Costa Rica. Altitude 1,850 metres above sea level to 1,900 metres. The varietal is Caturra. It is a yellow honey that is sun dried and then processed. So we should go and look at Roland's daft fact of the week.
Maria Axadora Bonilla used this coffee in her WBC routine in 2014. If you're ever in San Jose, you can visit her coffee shop. She would use this coffee though, wouldn't she? As it is her father's farm.
Wow, Roland didn't talk about the World Cup. He must be mellowing with the group games. Anyway, it's time for our wonderful map bit.
Hello, and welcome to this week's map bit. We are going up, because that's what we do on the map bit, duh. And we're going to go up, and we're probably going to go to our left, because we do a lot of that. Shall we go to yeah, let's go to the left. And we're going to be going to Central America. Like, when you have so many great coffees from somewhere, why wouldn't you keep going back there? Last week we were in Nicaragua. This week we're just below in Costa Rica. And Costa Rica has some really interesting coffees, but also has the average life expectancy of 77 years, one of the highest in the world. Also a literacy rate of 96% and has no army. I think all three things are definitely linked. But we're going to go down, and we're going to go down to Bella Vista, which we did about 5 weeks ago, and La Loma, which we are doing this week. Now, you can see they're very close together. They could be they could be seen as the same farms, but they have different typographies and different kind of varietals and a different kind of processing to them. So, but just look at that. Look at that valley. It is such a cool shot of the valley. Lowest point is the Pacific Ocean. The highest point, 3,820 metres above sea level, which is the Cerro Chipora. And there you can see where all of that altitude comes from. It really is from that Central Valley Tarrazú belt that goes down into Panama. And it really is just about that place. Let's see where we can whiz round and see even more typography. I really do love that we've got these exacts, and I got these coordinates from my iPhone from the photos, and yeah, there you can see a really good swizzle round. Now you can see the red dot just up there, and that's the view from the hydroelectric dam, which I've shown you photos of in the past. And there's another quick camera sweep around. You can really see how amazing a view it is. I really love that map bit. I hope you did too.
I love map bits like that. It's so cool when you can really zoom in. Yeah, it's a very, very cool farm. Right, it's time to whack you on pause. It's time to go and get tasty and delicious coffee and Roland's Ibrick, and I'll be back with you in just a moment. Okay, so I'm back, and I'm going to dive straight into the espresso as always. Looking forward to this one. That's a delicious espresso. That's really, really good. So, creamy. Creamy is the big part of this one. The mouthfeel is massive. Now, my descriptor for it on the site, I think, is melted ice cream, and it fits so perfectly. But there is an acidity there. It's a delicate acidity. It's kind of sitting underneath. It's not one of those dominant ones, so you get this really lovely peach-like acidity coming through. It's delicious. It is about the mouthfeel. That is really, 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 really good. So we should do cappuccino. Starts off creamy. Starts off like melted ice cream. You add some milk to it. It gets more creamy. Gets more like ice cream. It really does taste like vanilla ice cream. It's melted vanilla ice cream. It's ridiculous. It's delicious. It's a lovely, lovely, lovely cappuccino. So we should do our Ibrick. Now, you've obviously seen the brew guide, but you'll remember from the brew guide that you have to pour incredibly slowly. And I'm pouring it slowly. So Roland very kindly made this for me. I could have followed his brew guide, but it's nice to get him to do it. And these are my cups from when I did my Ibrick competition, and I'm the 4th best Ibrick maker in the UK. Don't forget that, 4th best. So my presentation that I did to be the 4th best Ibrick maker, have I mentioned I'm the 4th best Ibrick maker, was I talked about using good coffee in an Ibrick. It's just another brew method. Now, I don't particularly like mocha pots. I'm going to do a mocha pot brew guide as well, and I want to get better at them. And I really didn't like the Ibrick. But actually when I started to dig into it, I found that I do like it. Now, do I want to make Ibrick every week? Jeez, no. No, thank you. Like, no, don't want to make it every day. Definitely not. Do I want to pull it out once a month and make something different? Like, the beauty of a bag of coffee is you can get 20 experiences from it. And this is one of those experiences. And to dismiss it without kind of giving it a chance is, I know, it makes me angry. So, it's kind of a cross between that and a brewed coffee of it. So, yes, there are bits in it and I'm not going to drink it all, but because I poured it slowly and gently and because I brewed it correctly, actually, it's good. It's like I implore you to try an Ibrick. That's your homework for this week, is to make an Ibrick and let me know what you think of it. Come back to me, let me know. Don't dismiss it. Follow the brew guide. Do it with open eyes. Like, you can do it in a saucepan if you want to. It's better if you've got one of the little pans, and we have got some Ibrick saucepans on the site now, but you can do it however you want to do it. Try it, let me know how it goes on. Right, I'm going to shut up. Thank you very much for joining me, as always, and do remember, life is too short for bad coffee.